I'm having such a beautiful night because I get to work with so many amazing colleagues. And one of those is the woman standing next to me, Ifrah Jimale. Ifrah is a wonderful, accomplished journalist who's just been recognized by the American Society of Journalists, is that right? Is the author of the, is it daily or weekly? A daily column, Ask a Somali, and is a former client of mine. I met Ifrah when she was a little girl, having just come out of detention. And it is such a great joy to see the woman she's grown into, and she's here to share with you her story of coming to the United States and why asylum and human rights work really matters. Thank you, Ifrah. Good luck. Slow down. Okay. All right.
Hello, everybody. Habeen wanaagsan, magacayga waxaa la dhahaa Ifrah Jimale. And oh,
I'm shorter than she is. There we go. Go figure.
habeen wanaagsan, magacayga waxaa la dhahaa Ifrah Jimale. I'm going to speak in Somali the whole night. No. Okay. All right. My name is Ifrah Jimale, and I was granted asylum with the help of the Advocates for Human Rights. I was born in Somalia. I was told to read this because if I go off, I would take an hour to tell this, so I make notes. I was born in Somalia, and when I was 15 years old, my mom, my baby brother, and I fled to Kenya. But things weren't safe in Kenya, especially for a young women, where rape of Somali refugee women was very common. In 1998, I was sent to the United States by my family. In keeping with the tradition of Somali nomads, I was sent on ahead to see what life would be like. My mom had a big dreams for me to go to the US, to be safe, to work, to help support our family. Sorry. I expected that when I arrived here in the United States that I would be welcomed, and all that I have to say was that I was a refugee. But neither my mom nor I thought that I would be arrested when I arrived in the United States. My flight landed in Cincinnati, Ohio. I told the immigration inspector that I was a refugee, and instead of being welcomed, they told me to go back on the plane and ask for status in a refugee camp. I knew that wouldn't work. I was there already. When I said no, he told me I would be in jail and could be a long time until the United States decides what to do with my case. Knowing what I faced, I knew jail would be better. After all, how bad could it be, really? But it was terrifying. I was wrong. Detention was humiliating. I was dressed in an orange jumpsuit. I was shackled hand and foot whenever I was taken to court for my hearings. I remember one of the guards saying I was just here to take American jobs, and that all refugees were a bunch of thieves. And I remember promising myself that I would never take any public assistance, and I kept that promise. One morning, after 5 months in jail in Ohio, I was put on a plane to Atlanta. I had no idea where Atlanta was. I thought it might be in Mexico, or why I was taken there. I was held 3 more months in immigration custody while I applied for asylum. The immigration judge denied my asylum case. After my 18th birthday, I was released to the custody of a relative while appealing my case. I went back to Ohio and then came to Minnesota, bouncing from relative to relatives. I enrolled in high school because I couldn't read or write in any language. There I met Lisa Johnson, an amazing teacher who took me into her family, and who sat down with me as we tried to learn about the crazy immigration laws and what was happening with my case. Lisa and I went to Senator Paul Wellstone's office over on University Avenue. We told the staffer my story, and she said, "Oh, I have just a place that can help you," and gave us the address of the advocates in their old 3rd Avenue office. Lisa and I went to see Michelle Garnett. Lisa told me, just tell her everything. I sat down with Michelle, and she just sat there listening, and at the end, she told me, I don't know, the whole time I was in Minnesota and traveling around, everybody I talked to or knew or met had no idea what I was talking about. But just, looking and seeing Michelle take notes and stare at me, and I kind of got the sense she knew what I was saying. But at the end of the meeting, she told me, we're going to figure this out. Everything will be okay. That night was the first night I slept soundly, knowing I was not going back to jail, and that even if I was deported, I wasn't in it alone anymore. It took a while, but in the end, she was right. I was granted asylum in 2003. I finished high school, graduated from the University of St. Thomas with a major in journalism. Not bad for a girl who couldn't read or write when she came to this country. All right, where was I? Thinking back to that guy in Ohio, I've never ripped off the system. I would like to tell him that today. With the advocates' help, I went from jailed and in fear of deportation to being a permanent resident of the US, a college graduate, and a columnist of Ask a Somali for Twin Cities Daily Planet. Thank you. Earlier this week, I stood in front of the Society of Professional Journalists, known as SPJ, to accept Page 1 Award for Best Independent News Placker of 2011. Thank you everyone here for support of the advocates. My life could have taken to so many different paths. Because of you, I'm here today, and because of Michelle, I owe you everything. Really, literally. Thank you. Thanks so much.